Hello gorgeous ones, how are we? Dr. Lucy here. It's a little after 5 and today on Cooking, Coaching and Conversations I am going to actually be cooking some fish. I've realised when I started this show, not a huge repertoire. So it's interesting because here I am doing a lovely cooking show with all these simple ingredients, but I'm almost coming to the end. So tonight's dish, actually haven't cooked before, but it was inspired. So, hi Hannah, hi Ruth, how are you gorgeouses? This recipe was inspired by a friend of mine who cooked for us on the weekend, and on Good Friday we had, hi Susan, we had poached salmon and lime. So I thought, I'm gonna give that a crack, can't be that hard. So I've made a couple of adjustments to the recipe, but basically I'm going to cook some salmon fillets. I've got a couple of limes. I've got a couple of chilies, which I may or may not put in. Hey Penny, how are you? Hey Renee, hey Alani. And I'm just going to put a little bit of this mingle in. It's the green curry one. This is the original one when they were doing the trial. Hey Wendy. So what I'm going to do is put this in, but I'm not going to put the whole packet in because I don't want it overpowering the flavour. Hello Maxine, how are you? You know there's no sneaking in on this cooking show because Facebook tells me who's watching, which is a bit sneaky. So what I'm going to do is just warm up the pan. And the way I cook my coconut cream, I'm going to put this in first because what I want to do with this is I want this to sort of reduce down a bit because I don't want a poached salmon with a big runny cream. So I'm going to put this in. Check my pan's clean, that'd be embarrassing if it wasn't, but I got it straight out of the cupboard. Hello Brenda, how are you darling? Oh, Brenda's watching the live, yay. So you know that I like this brand, it's the AM brand. A lot of coconut creams have fillers and thickeners in them, carangagine, which is the seaweed stuff. Hello Cheryl, which is often irritant to our gut. So I just get this one, it's got nothing else in it except coconut cream, and sometimes it looks a bit grey, and that's normal. It's because it's got no bleaching or anything like that in it. So I'm just going to get this out, and if you've shaken it, which I haven't done very well, a lot of the cream component is on the lid. So I'm just going to get my little knife, since I don't have a spoon handy, and just scrape that off, put that in, and I'm just putting, again, if I'd shaken it probably a little bit more, or had one of those, you know, those paint stirrers from Bunnings, if I had one of those, the cream would be mixed in a little bit more, but it doesn't really matter. Just going to shove that in. So we went away on the weekend. It was so beautiful. I had such a good time. And what we did was, I felt a tiny bit weird because I for 4 days, didn't post a single thing on any social media, which is very good for me to do because I can be a little bit stuck down the rabbit hole of watching everybody. So it was good. It was great. I mean, it was fantastic for that. And just having a beautiful time with some friends and just really just chillaxing. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting this coconut milk in. I'm just going to let it reduce down a bit. So it's boiling away, and I'm going to get out a packet of this mingle stuff, and I'm just going to put in half a packet because poached fish is quite, it's quite a delicate flavour. So I'm actually just putting a little bit in. In fact, I may not even put in half. I've really just put a sprinkle. I'll keep that for later because I have got lime, which I'll zest in, and I'm going to put this all in first and then put the fish in because the fish won't take very long. So I'm actually just zesting it straight in. Tip for young players, take the sticker off your lime, and then I'll put the juice in and I'll stir all that together. So anyway, we had this lovely time, and I'm going to show you what I wanted to do on my weekend. Hello Suze, was do some knitting. Now the hilarious thing, and I'm going to write a blog on this, the blog is called Knitting Not Quitting, and part of the reason for this is that I identify myself as a knitter. People go, are you a knitter? And I go, oh, yes, I'm a knitter. The thing is, I'm not actually very good at knitting. But I've decided that that's actually okay. You don't have to be a superstar at something to be I really enjoy knitting. Anyway, I also realised I hadn't knitted for a little while, so I completely forgot how to do it. Luckily for YouTube, so I was able to YouTube because I knit on the round, and really I can go back and forth doing garter stitch, and that's about it. So anyway, I ambitiously took on the project of starting socks because I thought I am one of these people that gets a project and decides to make the biggest. So my other project that's been going for about 5 years is a blanket, and I'm about 3/4 of the way through and I've completely lost interest. So I thought I'll make small things. So anyway, I'm just zesting a lime. That's really thickening up. So you'll notice, so if you didn't want to use some curry powder, you could just fling in a bit of ginger if you had some of that in a jar, or if you want to chop or grate your own. You could put in some garlic. It's basically the recipe for any Thai dish is garlic, ginger, some lemongrass and a bit of chilli. I'm going to put the chilli in at the end, and part of the reason I'm not putting seeds in, okay, because I have a husband that doesn't like very hot stuff. I'm really just going to put the red in for a bit of colour. So this little postage, I was about to call it, poaching sauce, I'll show you it. So it's quite green. I don't know if you can see that colour. It's quite green and it's thickening up beautifully. Just going to put it up a little bit more, and it smells really good. I've got 4 salmon fillets. I like the fillets that are just the square strips. You can get ones that are flat at the end, and I tell you what, I always get the skin. And the reason for that, the skin has all the goodness. So the skin has the fat, it's the fattier bit of the salmon, and it's where all the omega-3 lives. So you'll remember, if you hear me banging on, we want more omega-3 in our diet and less omega-6. So we can do that by increasing fish, and oily fish like salmon is a great way to do it, and decreasing seed oils. So because I don't want to get my fishy fingers, I'm actually just picking this up with a little thing. And honestly, I'm just going to plop it in. Plop, like that. And I'm plopping the other one in. Plop. We can either fling it or plop it. They're your 2 options. And it even doesn't matter, like this one accidentally dropped on its head, but that doesn't matter because now it's sort of like marinated in the sauce, the saucy stuff. I'm just going to fling the saucy stuff over the other ones, and I'm going to put the lid on this, and I reckon it'll be about probably 10 minutes. And while that's cooking, I just put in the zest of 1 lime, and I'm just going to juice the rest and put that in as well, because who doesn't, you can't have enough lime, can you? Rightio. So anyway, back to my story on the knitting. So knitting, not quitting. So I'm a slightly rubbish knitter. I had to YouTube how to cast on long tail because I'd forgotten that bit. I hadn't done it for a couple of years, so that was good. And then I started going round and round, and then I lost count of my stitches. And you also had to do, once I'd cast on, I then also had to do ribs. So I had to do, pearl plain, which I forgot as well. So I reckon what I did was start maybe 6 times, probably. I'd do a couple of rows, bugger it up, start again. 6 more times, bugger it up, start again. Now, the thing about this, right, was it made me think about weight loss in a lot of ways, because quite often we'll start and we'll bugger it up. We'll start and we'll bugger it up. The key is to keep going, because once I got over the hump, the rest was really easy. Now, my friend Jo, who I went with, I was calling her my sock coach. She was like, she is a much better knitter than me. And anytime I made a mistake, I would go to her for advice. So it was a bit, again, I guess kept thinking, it's much like, you guys who come and watch me for weight loss stuff, or food, or lifestyle, whatever it is. It's about the persistence that helps you to keep going. So I'm going to show you a little a little sample of my sock. So in my head, I had this idea that I might be able to knit a pair of socks in the weekend, which is a bit stupid because I realised I'm actually not that good. And it took me way longer than I thought it would. But again, that's a little bit like weight loss, isn't it? Sometimes we go, I want to lose 10 kilos in, 2 months and you realise it takes you a bit longer. But look at my sock. It's actually looking like a sock. So this is the top, nice and stretchy. And then this is the bottom of it. And it's basically knitted on the round. It's really simple now that I've got going. And I'm going to put a heel into it soon. I'll watch YouTube for that bit as well. And probably ring my friend Jo, because if I make a mistake, she'll help me fix it up. And then I'll be certainly set for the second one. Now, you can't actually see from here, but there are a couple of little mistakes in here. But it doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect, much like the way we should eat. 99% is good. Occasionally you'll bugger it up, and again, when I was doing the ribbing, I'm just putting this back in the drawer so I don't get sort of fish juice all over it. When I was doing the ribbing, if I lost count completely, then the next row looked, and I got to the sort of 4 or 5 rows in and realised actually it wasn't ribbed at all, it was just all hodgepodge and it wasn't going to do it stretchy. So there was a point where you can make too many mistakes and it's not functional, but a couple here and there doesn't matter. The thing that I'm really pleased with is I got over the hurdle, so no quitting. I just kept knitting. And my friend was able, so I got advice, YouTube, my knitting coach, and I just kept going. And even when I made a mistake, I might have to go back a step and then go forward a step. So I really want you guys to be thinking a lot about that option, particularly with your eating, because we get into this diet mentality where we think that it has to be perfect, and if it's not perfect, we've buggered it up. And honestly, if you made a little mistake, it doesn't matter, you can keep going. When you make a lot, then you probably are, much like my ribbing, you know, it's not effective. It's not going to work. The function isn't working. If you make a mistake every day, well, then you're not really doing it, are you? So it's that idea of not kind of, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you also can't just, you know, give yourself a free pass for every time it's not perfect. Does that make sense? Now, as I said to you with this chili thing, I'm cutting while we're chatting, because I am going to cut the seeds out. I don't mind it hot, but yeah, other people in the house don't. And because it has already got a little bit of the curry powder in it, it'll be fine. So I'm just whipping that off. Chili has a lot of benefits, health benefits for us. It is really helpful as an antioxidant and really helpful for inflammation. Interestingly, the capsig, which is the hot bit of it, is used, if anyone's ever had shingles, has anyone had shingles here? It's a shocking kind of condition, lots of pain, and we treat it with an ointment. Like once it's passed and you've still got that burning pain, we can treat it with an ointment essentially made from chili. It's called capsig. So, you know, it's certainly got lots of anti-inflammatory benefits for it. So if you don't love it, oh well, it's all right. But if you do love it, well then you're probably doing yourself a good favour. So I'm just going to put a little bit in. What I'm serving it with tonight is some, what do you call these things? Beans, green beans, which again, I'm just going to top and tail roughly because I don't really care that much. I just don't want the really hard stalky bits in that the bean picker has left on. So I'm just going to whip those off. And I'm actually going to, I microwave my vegetables. I don't know if that's really kosher in the sort of world of people who go out and pick their organic vegetables, but for me it's quick and it's easy. I could steam them, but the microwave for me is easy. And again, this is all about real food real fast, and I need to do what suits me and makes my cooking life simples. So I'll have a look and see how this is going. Ooh, it's looking very good. I'll show you in a minute, because what I'm going to do is whack it on a plate. So this dish, I mean seriously, like we're only 15 minutes in, it's already. In fact, I'm so busy yakking that the whole thing's cooked, it's over and done with. So all you need to do is just make sure that you have a few ingredients always available in your cupboard. So, you know, I've always got some herbs and spices. You can use the Mingle brand if you like, it's totally my fave, but you know, you can use other brands as well. Some people use, there's a couple of Thai brands actually from Thailand. I'm chopping up some broccoli while we're yakking, which you can use. The key with the ingredients, right though, check your ingredients of everything, because if you're making a paste, if you've got a paste, just check that the oil in it isn't canola, okay, or sunflower or safflower, because they're the omega-6s that we're trying to get out of our diet. The reason that we're trying to get those out is that they are inflammatory, and remember, inflammatory products, inflammation is the root cause of a lot of our chronic disease. The other way to get rid of some inflammation, we always want to get rid of a bit of inflammation, that's free, cheap, relatively easy to do, incredibly restorative, and the focus of our monthly inner circle this month is sleep. Sleep is such an incredibly restorative, rejuvenative process. We spend a lot of time talking about it because it's completely undervalued. Sleep is sort of something you fit on at the end of your day. So what we want to be prioritising is actually almost working backwards. Work out what time do you have to get out of bed. Good, you have to fit in 7.5 to 8 hours sleep a night. Now I know people are going, oh, I don't get that much sleep. That's fine, you may not. And you can survive on that, but you're probably not going to be thriving. And really, we all want to be thriving here, don't we? So humans are very good at surviving. We are surviving, kings, but we're not very good at thriving. So, oh my God, this smells. If only we had smell-o-vision. I think they invented that in Willy Wonka at some stage. I'm just moving all these rubbish. So you know what I'm going to do with all my tops and tails of the beans and this thing, what do you call this thing? The stalk of the broccoli, is chop it and put it into my bag to put in the freezer for stock or my green paste at some stage. So can you see that? I mean, seriously, it looks amazing. I'm just going to cut a bit open and see if it's ready yet. So this is what you want to do. You can cut it open. I just usually won't sacrifice one. Again, salmon's very forgiving because it continues to cook even when you've turned the heat off. I reckon 2 more minutes. Shush. You hear that thing beeping at me? It's telling me that there's no pan on. So I'm going to give that, I'm actually just I'm even going to leave. I'm going to open the lid a little bit because I just want to reduce down that sauce stuff as well. So I guess they're the things that that I'm talking to you about this week. One, knitting, not quitting, okay? Get started. If you make a mistake, doesn't matter, keep going. If you're making lots of mistakes, well then you need a coach, okay? Like I got my knitting coach. Because the first bit is always the hardest. Then once you go, you get going and it's all exciting, you can see it grow. The sock isn't growing as fast as I wanted it to, but that's because I probably had some unrealistic expectations. And honestly, the key is not to focus on the end result, but focus on the process. So for me, part of knitting is that it's actually quite therapeutic. There is some science behind the idea of moving your hands, hand movements, repetitive hand movements, doing different things left and right is very soothing. Again, it's the reason why people are so taken by craft. It's because it's 2 hands doing different things. Some people do it with piano, 2 hands doing different things. I'm rubbish at piano, but I am a knitter. So, and then the second thing is prioritising your sleep, because that, my friends, is, for some people, I get it, there's some sleep issues, but we know that people who sleep apnea, again, super common and really associated with long-term poorer outcomes. So losing weight helps sleep apnea. Treating sleep apnea with your CPAP machine just improves your quality of life no end. But actually going to bed, that's my big thing. I could get a bit more sleep if I actually hopped into bed, because it's very hard to sleep when you're standing up. So for me this month is all about prioritising my sleep and going to bed on time. Now that's ready. I haven't put this in the microwave, so I'm just going to pretend that my vegetables are cooked and you can see what they look like. Oh, one thing I am just going to do is I've chopped my chilli. I forgot to put that in, but I'm almost going to use it as a garnish. Now the other thing I have for a garnish, does anyone have this stuff? This is an herby pod. I feel like an ad. I've got ads for knives, herby pod. This thing is the only way I can actually ever have fresh herbs in my house. So it's some fancy contraption that you plant some seeds in and they grow. Sounds simple, right? but it really is. It's like the dummy's guide to growing herbs, because there's a lot that comes on, and there's some automatic watering things. So all I have to do is fill up the watering thing about once a week, and the light's automatic. So these were seeds a little while ago. It's getting towards the end of their lifespan. And my husband doesn't like coriander. Well, he's done really, isn't he? He doesn't like chili or coriander. But no, he is a beautiful man, so I can't complain too much. Just having a look at this. This is interesting. These have a little bit of thrip. These have some thrip on them. Who knew? Right, well, I won't be putting them straight in. I'll actually go and wash them. Because, yeah, they're completely covered in thrip. There you go. So just proving that they are a real plant and that there's some sort of, you know, micro environment going on there. All right, so let me fling this in. This looks amazing. Just taking that off. Turn that thing off. I'll just grab a plate. Just actually grabbing a clean plate. Does anybody have kids in the house that unpack the dishwasher, and even though there's a bit of goop on the plate, they just put it away? Coriander. You know, the interesting thing about coriander is that there's a gene. It's all to do with the gene. If you have a gene where you don't like coriander, then it doesn't matter what happens, you'll never like it. Oopsie. So I've just totally screwed up my presentation. But honestly, I'm going to have this now. This looks delicious. I'm going to pop a bit of thing on it. And so again, this is like a restaurant meal. All thanks to my friend Ben, who, as I said, provided dinner for my husband and I and his wife on Friday night. Well, we just kicked back, and it was this salmon in lime and coconut, and I've just made my own little version of it. So you can see that. I don't know if you can see up close. Again, the lighting's all a bit weird here because I don't have my own studio. But if I cut it in half, it's super tender, totally delicious, and it's a bit hot for me to taste, but I can smell. That's amazing. So I would then put some steamed veggies with it, plonk a bit of sauce on. Bob's your auntie. Thank you, Jackie. This necklace is beautiful. I have a whole collection of them. Again, they're from a little company called Ruby Olive in Australia. Feel free to Google them. They're really nice. Again, I love any company that I can find that's Australian owned, particularly run by young women who are making their mark in the world. I am happy to support. So my loves, I'm going to leave you with that tonight. Have a wonderful evening. I will post perhaps a picture, a little less, it just looks like a dog's breakfast now, with the recipe later on tonight. Bye, darlings. Have a wonderful day. See you. I'm coming round to turn it off because remember, I don't have my own studio crew. See ya.